Gastric juices are highly acidic with a pH of like 1 or 2. And this is with two purposes: to kill microorganisms and to denature proteins. This acidity also helps break down tough tissues in animal and plant foods like tendons and cellulose. As food enters the stomach, the salivary enzymes programmed to work at a pH of 5 or 6, they stop working. And the stomach enzymes programmed to work at a pH of 1 or 2, they take over. For example, the amylase in saliva functions at a much higher pH, while the stomach amylase functions in the stomach's very, very low pH environment. Nutrient absorption does not occur in the stomach due to structural and functional reasons. But remember, things like caffeine and aspirin, they are absorbed. The stomach is lined with a mucus barrier, and that prevents the absorption of small molecules. They just can't make their way through the thick mucus. Additionally, digestion is incomplete in the stomach. So I don't want to absorb what's in the stomach anyway. It needs to be broken down further. And this incomplete digestion is sensed by chemoreceptors. The stomach protects itself from its own acidic environment. And it does that with two things: a bicarbonate rich mucus and rapid cell turnover, shedding old cells into the digestive tract. The other benefit that comes from this thick mucus barrier is pictured here, and that benefit is an inner mucus layer that contains immunoglobulin A's. However, the mucosal barrier can be compromised, and this occurs with something called a Helicobacter pylori infection. This little bacterium loves to build holes in your stomach lining, and those holes are called ulcers. So this bacterium is opportunistic. It exploits areas where the lining is damaged, and it further erodes the stomach's protective barrier and causes basically a big hole. Because this is a bacterial infection, it can be treated with antibiotics. When I was younger, we did not know that ulcers could be treated with antibiotics. There was a doctor named Dr. Koch who basically made a little Heliobacter pylori slurry, drank it himself, and then formed an ulcer, and then cured his ulcer with antibiotics. And these things are called Koch's principles, and they're pretty important. You have to show that something can be infected. You have to show that the symptoms and signs of that infection are present. And then you have to show that the treatment resolves those symptoms and signs. And these are what are called Koch's principles. Heartburn can occur from a few different things. As one of these pictures over on the right shows you, that acid reflux can occur just from the opening of the lower esophageal sphincter. So even though the acid activity in your stomach is relatively okay, the opening of that sphincter allows stomach contents to enter into the esophagus. Parietal cells, which were those cells that secreted the intrinsic factor and the hydrochloric acid, they can become overactive for so many different reasons. They overact with overactive gastrin. They overact if there's lots of histamine in the area, possibly due to mild allergies, or they can be overstimulated by the vagus nerve, just releasing acetylcholine and stimulating them. Treatment options are various. And because there's so many causes of heartburn, that means that you may have to go through a few treatment options to find the right thing. Usually the first line of defense is a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor. Those are like omeprazole. And what they do is they block the hydrochloric acid secretion at the parietal cells at the source. We can also consider antihistamines, and then anticholinergic drugs, which are kind of the second line that's taken with any type of sympathetic activity, because they all have a first neuron that secretes um, acetylcholine. So these anticholinergic drugs can also be pretty effective.